Hey guys, it's Todd. Welcome to Personal Development Hacks. We'll get going in a second here. Got a special guest, so I'll get her introduced and let her get settled, and then I'll introduce her. We'll go from there. So get a drink, get a pen and paper if you have to. All right, guys. So great show today. We've got a special guest. Her name is Donna Loeffler, and I will bring her in now. Hey, Donna.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great, Todd. Thanks so much for having me on today. I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about and just happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the audience out here that doesn't know you, just feel free to introduce yourself and kind of what you're working on.
Okay, well, I am an online marketing mentor. And what I do is I help small businesses get up and running. I help them grow. But I do that in a very special way by helping them connect and collaborate with other small businesses that have like a similar market of people who they work with so that they can really take off and grow exponentially from really day one, because it's always hard to get a small business up and running. So that's what I do. I work with a lot of digital tech stuff. I take the tech off the shoulders of the small business, especially the solopreneur that maybe doesn't want to learn tech, doesn't like tech. So I call myself kind of a unicorn because I love tech. I work with it, but I'm also an extroverted person who loves to work with people. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
That's a good combination, though. A person that works with people who likes talking to people. That's always good. So,
Yeah.
so what do you see is the biggest barrier? Just like with majority of people that I talk to, it's they're wanting to grow wealth, and they realize that they're not going to get to where they want through their salary, or whatever, and so they're looking either to start something brand new or as a side gig. And what do you see as the biggest kind of obstacle that you see in them getting something like that going?
Okay, well, that's a really good question because I think the biggest obstacle is that they maybe get sidetracked. They really don't know what they want to do. First of all, they don't know what they're good at or what would be like, I guess, their big why. Like people know Simon Sinek and he has the book about finding out your why. But when you find out why you want to do a business before what kind of business, that can help a lot to bring clarity to what kind of business to start. So I would say, like, as a startup, that's the main thing, is just to figure out exactly what you're going to do. And then the next step is, how am I going to do that? Because that's, I think, actually is the biggest. Once you decide I'm going to do this, how am I going to do it? Well, you get online and you start Googling things, and maybe somebody told you about a program, and then you pay money, you get signed up for stuff, and you think, oh, this is the answer, and then it ends up you just get stuck again because it wasn't the answer. And so you don't have clarity on exactly how to move forward, how to get this thing up and running. And either at that point people get frustrated and quit, or they keep buying more programs and spending more money. And then
Right.
that's why one of the reasons why a lot of small businesses fail, because they spend way too much money from the beginning, and then they don't have a clear path, the clarity, exactly what do they need to do. So the strategy, is
Right.
really, really important.
Right. So instead of, like you said, just taking and spending God knows how much and taking all these classes on all these different things, really asking themselves why they want to do what they want to do, or why they want to do something different, and then really taking the time to examine their skills, their interests, just what inspires them to want to reach out and want to do something different.
Yeah.
And then intentionally seek out those individuals who speak that same language or have a program that talks to exactly what they're talking about. It might not be the same background, but the methodology, might be the same. It's like like a scaling business, right? Like, you know, Facebook and funnels and all this backdoor and this and that.
Yeah.
Like, they can help a ton of different businesses, but you have to figure out if it's right for you before you ever spend a dime on anything else. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know the book that you're talking about, Start With Why, Simon Sinek. It's a really great book, and it speaks to, like, I know why you've started your business. It's why I've started mine, and it's why we do what we do, not what we do. You know, it's you can talk about, you know, oh, we make the best widget for the lowest cost or whatever, but that's not your why. That's your what. You know, and like for me, I mean, I take it directly, basically from that, is that I inspire others to do what inspires them. And that's my biggest thing, is like, everyone's got dreams and everyone's got this life that their best life that they want to lead. They just don't know how to get there. And so, you know, I'm not here saying, okay, you've got this dream that you want to be healthy and here's a blue pill and take this and do. That's not it. It's providing people the path, but knowing that it's their own journey, similar to what you're talking about, where you talk to people about finding their own path so that they can take the journey, and you're just there steering, basically. Is that about right?
Yeah. And, you know, I think the first step really for anybody who's kind of wondering, like, how do I get this thing up and running, if they have even an idea of what they want to do, is to probably hire a business coach or hire a coach of some sort to help them develop a strategy. Because, like I said, it's so easy to just go out and think like this is the answer, because a lot of the marketing is ingenious and they will word it like this is the answer to all of your problems as a small business owner. And how many times, myself included, you know, you delve into this stuff and it's just not helping or working. Right. And you don't know why, really, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And so to have a plan, you know, where a doable plan, like a checklist where you can say, do this first, do this next, you know, and so you stay on track, and to have them help you stay on track. I think that's really, really important to start. Like, if you have your startup money, I would hire a coach and get started with that. And then they can even help you, like, okay, like, you have this much money left, then this is the best place you could put it next, that kind of thing, you know, rather than just being out on your own. And I have made so many mistakes and figured it out the hard way. So I can speak from experience, and so many people I meet have the same thing. And let me tell you, once you start setting stuff up on your own, it's not quite right. And then you start to figure out what is the right way. It's much harder to clean up that mess after you've created stuff that isn't working, right? Or that, you know, it's cost a lot of money, and now you've got this credit card debt or whatever. And
because you want to hold on to what you just spent money on and make it work the way that you want, instead of spending the right money on the right product that already does all the stuff that you wanted in the beginning, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. But you don't know, again. I mean, you don't know, because when you go online, there's so much stuff. There's so much information. There's so many software products now, and many of them are good. You know, it's just a matter of, like, a lot of people try to dive into starting a podcast right away when they have nothing else going on. They don't even have a product to sell or a free thing to give away, and they're doing this podcast, and it's taking, you know, been there, done that myself. It's taking all this time and energy and effort, and then you're not moving forward because people aren't just gonna, you know, set up a call with you, even though they don't really follow you, or, you know what I mean? So it's like a long path.
Yeah, no, it's there's very few people in this world that, like, when you say their name, automatically people are like, I know who it is, and I'll do whatever they say, you know. And it's like your Tony Robbins and your Grant Cardones and people like that, you know, people that have earned that level of name recognition, and that people just, you know, they feel like they already know them. So for those guys, they put something out, they've already established those 5 different contacts.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are ready to make a decision. Whereas starting out, you know, you gotta go into it knowing that, especially if it's like an online program or something where you don't have face-to-face contact, or you don't have like person-to-person contact, I should say, that it's going to take you 5 to 7 different contacts before they're going to know you, like you, and trust you enough to actually take money that they've earned, give it to you, because you're promising X, Y, and Z on the back end of it.
Yeah. You know, that's a good point too, like these big names, and that, you know, everybody knows, or not everybody, but you start to learn these big names when you get involved in the business world. And what I found is that their products are pretty expensive to buy into, and then you don't get their direct help. They hire coaches to work for them, and so then you're working with somebody else that you didn't really think, but they're using their methods or whatever. It can be total hit or miss, you know. And so I've had much more success in seeking out the smaller guys or smaller people in business. There's some excellent people and coaches that they charge a fraction of what the big names do, and you will get personalized individual attention with them. A lot of them are brilliant and have these 6-figure businesses. Maybe they're not making millions of dollars, but in my mind, if you're making 100,000 and up, like, you're doing pretty well, especially if you have an online business. You know, when you break the 100,000, that's a really great place to be, you know. And their knowledge is, in my opinion, not all the time, but many times, sometimes even better than the big guys, because you get that individual attention. So
yeah, you're right. I mean, those guys have ascended to that level for a reason, because they've proven that they do help. And as they help and they get more, you know, people saying, and all these quotes and all these people saying how good they did, their prices have gone up. And it should.
yeah.
I mean, it's supply and demand. But you're right. You know, if it's like, and I could be way off in the number here, but like, if you want Tony for 8 hours a day to come to your C-suite level meeting and talk about business, that's $500,000.
Yeah, for sure.
Now you get Tony, but it's going to cost you. And yet, if you're lower budget, then, I mean, I did it. I did Project Next with Tony and Dean last year. And it cost me like $47, and it was 5 days. And, you know, you kind of got out of it what you put into it. But at the same time, I mean, they bragged about the fact that they had 1 million people on Zoom and Facebook.
Yeah.
And from my standpoint, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, okay, I'll get my $47 out of this, but this is not personal. I'm one of 1 million people. And unless I'm lucky enough to be the one that raises my hand and poses the right question, I don't get face on camera unless it's like, you know, the screen goes and look at all these cameras and there I am. So you're right. There's a lot of good information. There's a ton of just great people, and some with very different takes on things. And what it's about, I think, for each individual is finding the person that they resonate with, who, you know, says something or does something or has something like a method or whatever that they look at and they're like, this makes sense to me. Go with that person, because otherwise, you're going to be conforming to what someone else's thoughts are. So you want to find someone who aligns with who you are, how you act, how you behave, your habits, like what your roadblocks are and stuff like that, and speaks to them right out of the gate, instead of trying to figure that out over the first 2 or 3 paid sessions, and figuring it out at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think really, like, everybody needs a mentor. years ago, I did the John Maxwell leadership training when I first started my business, and he talks a lot about how everybody needs a mentor, and I totally believe that too. And I think a good place to start is even just to start asking small business owners, entrepreneurs that you know, like, what did you do to get started? Like, you seem like you're making progress, like, you know, and they'll usually tell you that, yeah, it was a path. Like, I did this and then I did this and that didn't work. And that can be super valuable information. And, you know, that's now I've done a lot of stuff with my marketing agency in the last couple of years, and I'm pivoting more towards helping people find these other small business owners that they can collaborate with, you know, and that's like why you and I are here today. I mean, we met in Denver and you set up this time to do the TV recording, which I'm super grateful for. But, you know, to find people that you've connected with and what can you do together that makes it so that you can share each other's audiences in the future. So start looking for those people now when you're just getting started, or even if you're at like a little bit higher level of growth, to find people that you can collaborate with and start making your list. I think they call it your dream 100 list. Like, who are the people, if I met these people who are 100 people, and everybody knows more people than they think they know. That's the thing. But who do I know that has, you know, a similar market? I was just doing this exercise with my daughter yesterday because she sells skincare for young moms, but she helps young moms deal with the I guess I don't want to call it a burden, but like the complexity of being a young mom in today's world, you know, and raising your children, how you want, you know, be spending enough time with them and yet having your own outlet and time and taking good care of yourself. So she's really, really into that. And I'm so proud of her because she's doing great with it. But I was asking her, like, who do you know? And she could name people right off the top of her head. I said, have you ever worked with them? And she said, no, not really at all. Like, we haven't connected this way. So you would be surprised. And I think that's a really great starting point, which is free, right? Like, just reaching out, or reach out to a local BNI. I was very involved with Business Network International, and I'm currently not in a chapter. I probably eventually will get back into one, but just to visit, like, you don't have to join. You can visit as many chapters as you want, 2 times each, and just start to find people, you know, like find people who you can like for my daughter, she could find a young mom, like one of them is writes curriculum for school, like homeschoolers. She writes curriculum and she sells it online. So if you were in a BNI group and she met someone like that, she could set up a call, and it's all free, right? So that's like super good marketing strategy.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and we talked about it briefly, like with Achieve and going to those events. It's not about going and like either getting leads or selling or selling your program, or you know, walking up to you and going, hey Donna, how are you doing with your goals? And you're looking at me going, how you doing with your funnel?
Right.
But if you actually approach those from the correct stance of, it is a room full of people that know another room full of people each. Right. And then they know another room of people. You know, if you're just out there just introducing yourself, talking about what you do, and you find 3 or 4 or 5, 10 different people that you resonate with that want to introduce you, or you can introduce them, or it's network growth. It's not necessarily going and being like the salesperson or the leads person. It's about going and truly trying to build business. And that goes for self-employed. It goes for if you work for someone else. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're at. You never know when those connections you'll either need or rely on or depend on at some point in your life.
Yeah. So true, right? I have some excellent friends who have helped me in so many different ways that I've met through BNI. Like, you really do become really good friends with a lot of people, and maybe you're not even doing business together anymore, but you can still help each other in other ways, you know, as friends.
Well, and yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, like, you know, I've had people approach me and talk about, just different stuff, and all of a sudden it kind of leads to, I wish I could, and
Mm-hmm.
it turns into a discussion, and then it just kind of grows from there, and
Yeah.
it's innocent in the fact that because I'm truly there in life to, like,
Yeah.
help others achieve their
Mm-hmm.
best life.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
just having a discussion with someone, and just offering a point of view, because that's all it is. That's all a
Yeah.
coach is. I mean, you talked about like these highly successful people, they all have coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily people that know more, or that have to be older or have done exactly what they've done. It's different aspects of life, and the coach is there because they offer a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I've got my opinions on stuff, you've got your opinions on stuff, the thousands of people listening out there, they've all got their different opinions on stuff, and it just becomes like, you got to get a different perspective, because sometimes that different perspective can completely just blow your world and be like, what have I been doing? I got to do that.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
and and same thing with like finding a mentor. Like, you'll find tons of people, usually some of the most successful, are more than happy to basically give you the keys to the castle and go, this is how I did it,
Yep.
learn from my mistakes,
Yeah.
here's how I did it, and
Yeah.
here's the mistakes that I made.
Yeah.
And if you're out there talking to someone, and you thought that they could kind of fill that role of a business coach, or whatever, and they're unwilling to share information because they're very guarded, and they feel
Mm-hmm.
like, well, this is my thing and you got to find yours. That's not your mentor. That's not.
Yeah. So
There's
true.
there's something else going on, because
Uh-huh.
the world is just, I mean, he's not that person is not the only one that has that idea, and you're not the only one that has the idea.
Yeah.
You have a
Right.
different perspective on it, and you should be just willing to just share this information. So
Yeah. Yes. And I would not, with taking that, I would not discredit anyone. When you go to these meetings, like people tend to try to seek out, and that's okay to do that, seek out who you want to talk to. But I was at a tech conference last week before I was at the conference where I met you, and it was about the software that I use called High Level. Anyway, it's a very complex software, and the industry is very much dominated by young men. Okay, so I felt kind of out of place there. Not really. There was like maybe one or two other women, but I was probably the oldest one there. And then there was this one much older man, and I think he's probably about 75. And all these guys are like 30 years old, making 500,000 a month, right? Like, it's just incredibly, like, they're so successful. Really good guys, though. I mean, they're not like all into bragging or anything. Anyway, there's this one man, and he is a Vietnam vet. He had like his, I think he had like a pin on his head or a hat that said he was a Vietnam vet. And the people were just kind of steering clear of him, right? Because he was this old guy. Oh, what is, he just probably doesn't even know what he's doing, kind of thing.
yeah,
And then,
this conference is not about sharing your pictures of your grandkids on
yeah,
Facebook.
right, exactly, right. And so the last night we had this beautiful nice dinner, and him and his wife ended up sitting next to me and my husband, and so I had this in-depth conversation with him. The guy is brilliant. He's been working in tech for years and years and years since he got out of the military. He learned, taught himself. Brilliant, brilliant guy. And at the end of our conversation, he said, Donna, I would be willing to coach you for free. I know you're going to do well with what you're working on right now. And I am like, he goes, these guys are going to charge you thousands of dollars. I just want to help people. He's at a point in his life where he can, and he was just learning more. And I thought, I am so glad he sat next to me. I didn't seek him out, but don't discredit, now whether he'll coach me for free or not, I don't know. Like, we haven't even talked since then, but I intend to contact him again, because because not necessarily even because it's free, but because he's a wealth of knowledge, like incredible knowledge, and so don't discredit, like just find people, start a conversation, like you
Oh,
said.
that's perfect, because last episode I talked about how if you want to truly be happy, you have to have zero expectations of everyone else.
Yeah.
And there's obviously stuff like if you're their boss and you need something by noon or something like that, that's fine. But that's a prime example, because all of the 30 somethings and whatever, they looked and they immediately had an expectation that this person doesn't know what they're talking about. This person is way out of their element. This is a young person's game. And so they steered clear, but and be it good fortune or seating arrangement or whatever, because you didn't have expectations about what his knowledge level is, it opened a door wide open that, hey, I'll coach you for free. And, I've been doing this for longer than some of these kids have been alive.
Right.
And but none of the people that had an expectation that, sitting there in their, really nice suit and driving the really nice car, and they're 30 and they're, the kings of the world, and they look and they see a Vietnam vet who's 75, and their expectation goes to doesn't know. Whereas if you have zero expectations, you will find opportunities where no one else will, because you're not expecting anything. You're going to find the 75-year-old Vietnam vet that's brilliant at tech, not at telling stories about Vietnam.
Yeah.
And you're going to find people that have just talent and a wealth of knowledge and are willing to share it and help. Just don't, as long as you're just not approaching it with an expectation that you look like this or you said this, you must be this box. Because as soon as you do that, you're shutting doors instead of opening them.
Yep. I think, like, pivoting a little bit back to what we were talking about before, like what really stops people from even getting started. I've been thinking as we've been talking that when I first started, I felt like, well, I started as a women's life coach, but I felt like, okay, I went through this training. I don't really feel comfortable even presenting myself as a business yet, because I just got my business license. I'm just starting out. Like, what am I going to do even? So I got straight into a B&I group just because I knew that that's going to make me a little bit uncomfortable. It's going to make me present myself as a real business. So looking back, I think, again, like, to start with your big why, figure that out. Like, why do I want to start this business? Do that on your own. And that has to be really super solid, where, okay, I want to do this because, and usually those whys are pretty big things, right? Like, they're world life-changing things. Not always, but a lot of times they are. And you don't have to tell anybody what that is even. It can just be between you, or between you and your coach or your family, whatever. But then to develop that, what they call elevator speech. And I'm actually working on a product right now, which is going to be a free thing. It's going to be a mini course where you can come in and it's going to have a template and the instructions, and you're going to figure out your 30-second, what we call the elevator speech. So you could give this little talk on an elevator, but it's not going to be about selling somebody. It's not going to feel salesy. And how do you do that? So develop that 30-second thing, or even better, as a guest in B&I, they only give you a couple of seconds. It has to be so short and sweet, to the point. And then just get in there and feel uncomfortable, but start visiting these meetings, and present yourself, stand up straight and tall and say, like, this is what I do. And that, just do that, and then just see what happens. Like, people will come up to you, they'll want to hear more, and then the best thing you can do at that point is ask them questions, right? Ask them questions, get their contact. Like, don't put the focus, don't put the light on yourself. Just imagine the light on them, shining on them. What do I need to know about this person? What did they do? Where are they from? And people love, love, love to talk about themselves and their business. And then just take notes, or, and don't even worry about a business card. Like, just do something. Like, if you need a business card, do a digital card on your phone. There's free apps that you can do this with. And
Yeah, I can't remember the last business card I actually passed out. You know,
yeah,
like
right.
people like, you got a card, and I'm like, I got a phone that's got a little thing on it. Here, take a picture of this and do that, and there you go.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that, like with what you're doing. So I'll give you the floor, and you can kind of, I got your Path to Profits online up there, and
Okay.
tell us about kind of what you got going on with that.
Okay. Well, Path to Profits Online, I actually created this guide. It's a guide. It's an info guide. And I created this, gosh, probably maybe almost a year ago now, because I do work with a lot of people who are just kind of getting started. And in the marketing world, there's a lot of information that people don't understand when they're first starting. And so what I decided to do is create this Path to Profits Online. What is one of the most common ways that people do get out there and make money on the internet? Because it's kind of a mystery when you're first starting, especially. It's always a mystery, even as you grow, because there's always new ways to make money. But one of the most common ways to do that is what we call a lead funnel. And it's getting leads or getting people who are interested in what you do using a series of events that happen through technology, basically. So that might even sound confusing to people if they don't know what it is, but that's what the guide is about. I have a little video in there, explain and step them through step by step. And this is one of the most common ways and one of the very first ways that people start to grow a business online. And that's why I chose the lead funnel and how to explain that. And within that, if it's all free, when you get that, I believe I have a link in there that's you can schedule a call with me, which I absolutely would love to do, and just spend like 15-20 minutes helping you figure out what your next best step, or even your next 3 best steps, if we can like fit a lot in a short period of time, would be to get up and running. And so that's what Path to Profits Online is right now. The other thing I just talked about with the 30-second speech is not ready yet, but it will be. So
Okay.
if you get Path to Profits Online, you will hear about my other free thing, which you'll get totally for free, because to be completely transparent, when you get Path to Profits Online, that puts you on my email contact so that I can send you emails. And I only email about once a week, so I don't spam people with daily emails. But to help stay in contact, I'll tell you what I'm doing. If you ever need help, ways to contact me. And just, I want it to be a learning process, always giving value to people, not just saying, buy my thing, buy my thing. It has to be a progressive movement towards finding value. And then, oh, I really, I know this person now. I like this person. Maybe they can help me more if I buy this thing from them, So again, It has to be, to me, a way to get to know people.
Yeah. Well, then I'll say this: when you do get the 30-second commercial thing ready, just let me know, and we'll have you back on to go from there. So.
Oh, awesome! Wonderful,
yeah.
Wonderful. I would love that.
Yeah. So, and for me, guys, it's same thing. We've got a brand new product out there. It's called Get Started. It is for the self-starters, the quickest way to get started on making progress, living your best life. Donna's here because one of the things we talk about is is wealth. Most people have one of 3 things that they're focused on: health, wealth, or relationships. If it's wealth and you're not getting there with your salary, there's different ways to do it. And Donna can talk to you about a lot of different options in terms of once you figure out like what your why is, not only what your why is for starting business, but what your why is, the purpose of the business. But thanks to everyone that signed up so far. If you are seeing this and you're not living your best life and you want to, what are you waiting for? Get started. They say best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time today. So the sooner you get in, the sooner we can get you guys the product, and love to hear about your progress. So info's on the bottom. It's not even on our website yet, but you can just email get started to info@project9life.com. Indicate if it's Venmo or a credit card. We'll get you the link. You pay, we'll get you the product. It's basically a worksheet that's very simple, and a video explaining everything. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys there. So All right, Donna. So, but like you said with your why, I think it's important that people examine why they want to get into business. But like I just said, it's also why is the purpose of your business. Mm-hmm. So, your why to get into it may be, I want to live my best life. I want to be able to go to a beach and run everything through a computer and give me a phone and a computer and Wi-Fi and I'm good. That's the type of life that I want. That's great. But you also have to examine what the why is of your business. Like, what's the purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing, and what is it providing for your customers? So I think there's a couple different kind of layers of asking that why. Wealth is fine. I mean, God, Gordon Gekko said it, right? Greed is good. It's fine. If you want wealth because you want wealth, that's great. Then go get it. But you got to find a why that you want it, right? And there's a lot of different reasons for it, and you just got to find whatever it is for you. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
It's important. It's so important. People might even be wondering. A good place to start is always Simon Sinek's book. He's an excellent speaker. And if you're going to get his book, I would start with Why on audio book and just listen to it, because he's a really, really good speaker. And I think he does all of his own books on audio. Mm-hmm. But, just to go through the process of figuring out what is the why. And usually it has something to do with your entire life experience, just not today or what you want to buy or where you want to be in life. But with me, it started, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I had breast cancer. It was a horrific thing to go through the chemo and radiation and surgery. All my hair fell out. And when I got through that, I just decided, okay, like, I'm alive. I'm now, thanks be to God, I'm cancer free. And so what am I going to do with my life? Like, I want to do something that is going to help people in some way. And so I became a women's life coach to try to help women stay healthy and not get cancer, because it's so horrible and there's so much stress in the world. And I have a medical background. I was a medical technologist back in the day. I still have my license, but I don't work in hospital work anymore. But lately, what I've started to realize, and this is the thing too, it will evolve. That's how I ended up in marketing, because I started to build my own funnels online. And because I have a technology background in the medical field, I was able to learn that very easily and apply it and loved it, And so I actually used, is it okay if I talk about this process that I did, the journaling thing? Okay. Talked a little bit about it before we started recording, but this journaling process was very highly effective for me to figure out where I want to be. And I actually did this during COVID. During COVID, I think one of the blessings that came out of that was it kind of shut down the world so that we could think instead of being bombarded by so many things, because everybody was locked up at home. And so we kind of had to face whatever's going on. It wasn't our normal routine. And so I found this process. I actually had it and I never went through it because it takes a little bit of time. But what you do is you get something to write with, and you start to look at your life, and you think from when you were born to age 5, what can you remember that are like the biggest things that happened to you that you can remember? Like things in your life that happened that either made you afraid or happy or celebrating or whatever you can remember. And then you do that for actually each decade of your life. So it wasn't age 5, sorry. It's birth to age 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, depending on how old you are. You go all the way through that and you write, like as maybe not as fast as you can, but everything that just comes to your mind. It starts to open your subconscious, and more thoughts will start to come to you because you'll start to remember, oh yeah, I remember when this happened. I remember when this happened. And so you go through all of that. And then when you're done, you go back through and you start trying to pinpoint the common threads. Like, yeah, as a child, I was full of anxiety and I'm still full of anxiety because of this and this, or I always loved to create and do artwork as a young person. And then as I got older, I just kind of stopped, but I still loved it. I always wanted to do it. and you'll start to see how things tie together. And so I
Mm-hmm.
started to see, like, I love technology. I love creativity and art and color because I used to teach scrapbooking. And digital sales funnels are actually very similar to a scrapbook, believe it or not. Why? Because there's pictures, there's stories, there's design and beauty to it. And people should want to keep reading when they're on your funnel, your website, right? They should go, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Like, I want to know more. Like, that's the purpose of a scrapbook, is to educate people on something, whether it's their life or their family. And so I started to really think, this marketing stuff is really what I love, love, love. And I still can see how I can help people because I'm also in the fourth quarter of life, which I realized during that period of time. Once you get to age 60, you're in the fourth quarter, whether you want to believe it or not. Most people think like they're going to live forever, right? Nobody knows about tomorrow. No one knows how long they're going to live. But once you're age 60 and up, there's a high probability that you might not live all that much longer. That's when a lot of times people get sick. And not to be morbid and say I'm going to die. That's not at all the purpose of this. This is just to say, you know what? If I'm going to do something, I better do it now. Like, how much more time do I have? Nobody knows, but for sure, once you're age 60 and up, you should. And I think this is so interesting because I have a friend in Australia who's a psychologist, and we talk a lot about this. We talk once a week. We talk about how people want to leave some kind of legacy. As we're getting older, we start to think like, I want to leave a legacy. I don't want to just be stuck in the same old boring thing for the rest of my life, or God forbid, retire. Like, I never want to retire like I'm an old car parked in a garage, and then I just die because all I do is watch TV every day and I'm bored out of my mind and I have no purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So your why, I think, is also your purpose in life. And I don't know how old the people listening are. Maybe some of them are way younger, but there's like, you can start this at any time in your life. It's just as you're getting older, there's probably more of an urgency to do what you've always wanted to do and achieve those goals. Like, one of my goals is I want a beach house. I live in California and I want a house not right on the ocean, but near the beach so I could at least walk to the beach. That's a huge goal. We live inland from Los Angeles now, and to get a house at the beach would be a great big thing. But I want that house, and not so much just so I can show off and say I have this beach house, but because I love the ocean. I find it very calming and beautiful. And I really think it would be, for my husband and I, a really great thing for our relationship, so that both of us could continue to work and get to the point that we want to be, before we can't anymore. Like, you don't know as you're getting older. And so anyway, that was a lot of information, but I highly encourage people to do that journaling process because it can open up like a huge thing in your mind. And then once you say, yeah, like, I always like to do this, and people said I'm good at this, and I was terrified from this, you might even be able to help people get over their anxiety because you figured it out. Like, oh my gosh, I realized I was anxious as a kid all the way up until today, but now I do this, this, and this. Like, you just don't know what's going to come out of it.
No, and it's a great point, like talking about the fourth quarter of life and stuff like that. And I think, unfortunately, where a majority of society is by late 30s, early 40s, people are just, they get set in this is the life that I'm going to lead.
Yeah.
They live in Groundhog's Day. It's like, but they've either settled or become comfortable with their life. They make enough money to cover bills. They, have a family that they're happy. They go on their one vacation a year or whatever, but they feel like I'm good. And you're a perfect example of, no, you're not. Like, there's so much out there. And if you were 18 and you thought, oh, by 40 I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and you're not doing that, why?
Yeah.
And it's because you've fallen into, I'll say trap, but you've fallen into the repetitive cycle of, I get up at 6, I shower and I eat breakfast. I'm out the door by 7. I'm at the office by 7:30. Bob's going to come by and drop off my list of to-dos for the day. I eat lunch at this time, work the afternoon, 5 o'clock, I leave, come home, have dinner, sit on the TV, we watch a movie. And that's 5 days a week. And, you know, I'll be the first to say, if Friday is the best day of your week because you get a weekend off, that ain't right. You know, there's more to life than just waiting for Friday at 5 so you can, you know, be free and everything like that. You know, it's the New England, I think it was the New England Board of or Journal of Medicine or something. They did a study that they asked people to categorize like which decade of your life is most productive, you know, in terms of just being productive in life and in general. And, you know, most people are like, well, probably 30 to 40, you know, 40 to 50. So funny thing is the most productive decade that people live is 60 to 70.
Oh my gosh, I have not heard that. That's
Number
awesome.
2 is 70 to 80.
Oh, God.
Number 3 is 50 to 60. Now, granted, when they're measuring productivity, you know, you get to 60 to 70 and, you know, people are starting to retire and, you know, they're taking more trips and whatever, and they're counting that as productivity. But for me, it's like, why not take that most productive when you feel the most free and you're doing all that stuff and just back it up to now? Like there's nothing written that says that, you know, if you do things the right way and you're intently focused on achieving your goals, that in 4 years' time, from whatever age you are, you can't be living on the beach. You can't be taking, you know, going to Bahamas and a weekend just being like, yeah, let's stay another week. And it doesn't matter because you don't have a 9 to 5. You're living on either online income, you got different levels of income. So you got different cash flow outlets that are all just coming in because you've done the work now and you're getting paid off for it. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, but you know, you don't have to wait for 65 to retire and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just all you got to do is just, you know, I talk about condensing time, right? Actually, Grant said it, you know, if you want to make $1 million, you go work at Taco Bell, make your $18 an hour, do that for 35 to 40 years. Congratulations, you just made $1 million. Now, did it pay for your bills and your cost of living? Probably not in most areas. So what these successful business people and entrepreneurs and everything, what they've learned is to condense time. And they take that $1 million and instead of over a lifetime, they take that $1 million and say, actually, I need to make that in 5 years. I need to make that in a year. I need to make that every month. And they're condensing the time that it's taking to make certain levels of income. And they're able to do that because, you know, like once you hit a level once, be it 100,000 as an entrepreneur or be it 100,000 a month as an entrepreneur or whatever, it's steps in a ladder. And once you hit a level, your goal is to get to the next rung, not to just maintain it. You know, it's what do they say in business? If you're not growing, you're dying. That's basically true. And the better you do and the more hyper focused you are on why and the help that you can provide it's an attractant, because if I'm hyper focused on one individual and really helping them succeed and progress, and all of a sudden, the light comes on, they're like, I'm doing this and I'm seeing results, and Todd, you're never going to believe it, but I got this contract that I never thought was going to come because I had this attitude. Or, hey, I'm 60 days in, Todd, and I haven't taken a day off from walking, and I'm starting to feel different, and I'm getting to the point to where it's like being fit is not what I'm doing, it's who I am.
Yeah.
And when that transition happens, it's like everything opens up, and then it's like, okay, what's next, and all of a sudden you get this hunger again, like you were a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, we get to go to Casa Bonita today. For those of you that don't know, from Denver, Casa Bonita, it was a horrific all-you-can-eat buffet for Mexican food. Had like a bat cave and a pool with divers and stuff like that. So since then, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, the two guys from South Park, they're from Colorado. They bought it. They reopened it. A lot better food.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, but it's like that anticipation of the unexpected. That's how you want to wake up every morning, is what's going to happen today, instead of waking up going, it's another day.
Yeah, so true, right? And I think too, like, our culture and our society in the United States, especially in the Western world, I think as a whole, teaches us that there's always going to be more time now. Like we always hear like, well, I'm 50, but like 50 is the new 40, or I'm 60, but 60 is the new 50. And in reality, it really isn't. I mean, that was a lie. Like, if you're 60, you're 60. If you're 50, now, depending on how you've taken care of yourself or not, that might depend on how you feel and, how your life is playing out. But I think we can start to think like we have forever. Like we're going to live forever. Like we get that makes me think like no matter how old I get, I'm still going to feel and look and act like I'm much, much younger than I really am. But in reality, that is not true, So I think like we have to really start thinking, that what do I want different in my life? How do I want my life to look? What could really help me? And even like all of this might sound overwhelming to somebody who is thinking of maybe starting something. Just start a little side thing, a side gig. Start something that's just a little bit, again, like a little bit out of your comfort zone. Map out how much time do I have during the week to devote to this. And even if it's just 4 hours, you can get something up and running in 4 hours a week if you focus. I think we talked about focus in Denver a little bit. Like focus is something like this is my word for this year. How people choose a word. And I used to choose, for 2 years in a row, I chose the word consistent. Well, consistent is not a verb. Consistent is something that happens when you do something. Consistency. So I figured out that no wonder that didn't work so good. What's working this year way better is focus, and focus in on it. And I think if you wait, the thing that happens when you wait to take any action on this idea that you have or what you really want in life is you start to become afraid, and you start to feel like maybe it's just too risky, or maybe it's a crazy dream. And of course, people will tell you that a lot of times, like you're too old to do that, or you can't do that. And like, don't even think that way in the least, because I think like the perfect example is that Vietnam vet. Like, you can do whatever you want as you're getting older if you really want to do it, and it always gets back to like, what do I want? What do I really want? And how am I going to do it? Because I believe we only have one life. We only have one life on this earth. And so what are we going to do with it? How are we going to make a difference? How are we going to leave a legacy for our children, for our grandchildren, for anybody really, And that's what we really have to think about. Like today, do not waste another moment. Get the help you need.
Yeah, just get going. So, all right, we've got about a minute and a half left. Okay. So I'll give you about half of that. Just talk about who you are and how they can get in touch with you, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, yes, I'm Donna Loeffler, and this Path to Profits Online right now would be the best way for you to get a hold of me. My contact information is in there. You'll learn something, and we'll stay in contact. I would love to stay in contact with anybody listening to this, and I'm going to be sending this out to my social media and the people who are on my email list connection to this as soon as you get it up and running, and love to stay in contact.
Yeah, for sure. And then for me, guys, like I said, just get started. If you haven't and you know that you need help, it's $297, and it's the easiest, most simple way to reframe your thoughts on your goals and to get started. And that can be as early as today. So, but other than that, Donna, loved having you. That was great.
Thank you so much. This has been awesome. I would love to come back and, talk more.
Well, yeah. Now you got a motivating factor to get the commercial, the 30-second, the elevator speech up and running, then you get you back. So,
yep, absolutely.
All right, guys. Hey, from us at Personal Development Hacks, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, bye.